Israel today joined the United States in withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council. Officials have accused the body of aggressively promoting extreme anti-Semitism. President Donald Trump announced his decision on Tuesday, saying he didn't believe the world body was living up to its mandate. He also signed an executive order that cut funding to the UN agency that supports Palestinians. Still many questions surrounding the future of Gaza and Trump's comments, especially surrounding rebuilding. For more on the feasibility of rebuilding Gaza, we're joined now by Larry Garber. He is a former USAID mission director for the West Bank and Gaza, and he joins us tonight from Washington, D.C. And Larry, first of all, thank you for being here. And the question that everybody's thinking about, how feasible is it to rebuild Gaza under Trump's terms and plans?
So I think under Trump's terms and plans, it's quite unrealistic. First, because the Palestinians, there are 2 million Palestinians that live there, and they're not going to leave, certainly not 2 million of them. Second, it's been rejected by the Arab countries that would be required to participate in such an effort. And I'll just add one other thing, that I think it's quite dangerous because the ceasefire agreement that's currently underway and that's working, at least by its terms, well, in terms of returning hostages from Hamas to Israel and allowing humanitarian assistance into Gaza, would be jeopardized if they cannot reach agreement on the next two phases of the agreement. And one of those involves the question of rebuilding Gaza. And so if Trump has his plan on the table, it's just going to make impossible to reach an agreement. And the result would be that the Israelis and Hamas would go back to fighting.
I mean, who do you think should take responsibility for governance and maybe provide the funding and the rebuilding to ensure the security of the people there?
So that's the critical question. Mm-hmm. A colleague and I raised this back in November 2023, that this was the question that had to be resolved. It hasn't been formally decided upon, but I think there's a consensus growing that there needs to be an international security force placed in Gaza, probably made up of regional countries, Arab countries in the region, and that there's an interim government that will be needed there, which would be some combination of Palestinians, perhaps the Palestinian Authority, and again, international administrators from probably the region, but maybe even from Europe or elsewhere.
Let's look at some of the numbers. Last month, the United Nations estimated that 69% of the structures in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed, including more than 245,000 homes. In terms of rebuilding and restoration, where do you even start here? When we see the pictures, it just looks like devastation everywhere.
Right, and certainly there is truth that it is devastated, destroyed, and the challenges are removing the rubble that exists, removing the unexploded ordnances that exist, and that needs to be done before construction can begin or rebuilding can begin on specific areas. My sense is that what they're going to have to do is decide to build in phases, yes, in different regions at a time. But they're also going to have, or the international community, I should say, is going to provide the basic humanitarian needs of food, shelter, water, and medicines until the Gaza can at least provide or be able to re-establish a functioning economy that would operate and provide those essential goods.
You talk about the rest of the world pitching in, but how much responsibility falls under the Arab nations nearby to help rebuild Gaza?
They've made it clear that they're prepared to do so. There was a letter sent on February 1st from 5 Arab foreign ministers and a representative of the PLO to Secretary Rubio that committed themselves to doing so. They talked about the conference that they're preparing to convene donors to talk about the rebuilding of Gaza that will take place later this year. So they're, I think, both thinking about the mechanics of doing so and expressing their willingness to put money on the table. The caveat, though, is that they want some guarantees that this rebuilding will not be immediately destroyed again. And that requires, on the one hand, moving Hamas out of Gaza or degrading their capabilities completely, but also getting some commitments from Israel, both on the side of allowing goods to come into Gaza that are essential for the reconstruction, but also committing on a political level to moving forward with what the Arabs and the Saudis have called, a direct line to an independent Palestinian state.
You heard Trump's press secretary yesterday saying, listen, this is coming from a place of kindness. We've been trying to deal with this now for decades, and nobody's been even come close to solving this. So why not try something new?
Well, I mean, that's true.
That's what she said.
I know. But moving 2 million people against their will out of their home is not a solution that anyone in the international community should be willing to accept. It is part of a legacy that we should be avoiding, not trying to recreate because it hasn't been done in a while and might provide some glory to the United States. Yeah, this is about ensuring that the people of Gaza can live in an improved quality of life and have the dignity that they deserve over the next decades.
Yeah, we want ideas, but they also need to be good ideas. That's Larry Garber, former USAID mission director for the West Bank and Gaza, and he was kind enough to join us tonight from Washington. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.